It's a violent aesthetic movie, with sexy women, spilled blood and wicked fun, and every frame reflects the director's inspired vision of killing. When you sit in front of the screen, it is like riding on a crazy roller coaster, screaming and heart beating all the way. A different kind of joy will accompany you throughout the whole movie.
Hello, everyone.
Today, Josie is going to share with you an extremely violent zombie horror film, Planet Terror. Josie's channel is dedicated to discovering and introducing niche movies, dedicated to the unique you. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, so you don't miss any updates. Ambiguous night, flashing lights, sexy pole dancer is dancing with the passionate music, enchanting body posture, jump to half, she stopped exhausted sitting on the stage, leaving helpless and bitter tears.
Backstage, the manager swore at her.
If you want to make money, you have to perform well on the stage, but the woman Sherry didn't care. She had had enough of everything here. She had decided to leave after tonight and start a new life. After leaving the dance hall, Sherry was walking down the dark road alone with her luggage when several army trucks suddenly passed behind her.
Sherry dovetailed and fell into a trash can.
Looking at Nick, the disdained man in the car, she began to curse. The convoy moved on and stopped at a base. When Nick got out of the car, he went to the man across the street and asked for the test, but the man had already let them go.
The man wanted to ask Nick to spare him.
However, how could Nick, with his special collector's fetish, let him go?
Nick ordered his men to take the man's balls off and then without hesitation shot him in the head.
At this time, a military vehicle drove over, a captain came down, and he took off his gas mask to Nick for the test, who knows Nick cannot hand over. Without the experiment, the two sides begin a fierce gun battle, but Nick and they are no match for the captain.
Soon, Nick is overpowered by the captain, who asks him where is the subject. Nick looked at the captain in horror.
His face was undergoing a terrible change. Pustules were growing on his face.
Nick simply don't do two, shot two instruments broken, instant green gas from the inside out.
The captain led his men into the green gas, and the pustules on their faces began to disappear. And Nick took the opportunity to make his getaway in an army SUV. Looking at the drifting green gas, Nick knew it would soon become a living hell. The camera turns, a beautiful woman, Mary, is repairing her car. Her car broke down because of the engine overheating. She asked the boss for a bucket of water to cool the car. At this time, Sherry, who had just pricked her leg in a fall, was also there.
The boss looked at Mary and asked her to stay. Mary declined and drove away.
In the bathroom, Sherry pulled out the glass shard in her leg and returned to the restaurant where she met her ex-boyfriend Ray. Sherry was still hung up on Ray, and she had always said she wanted to be a comedian. However, don't understand the amorous feelings of Ray is just teasing, let Sherry feel very sad. And two people are about to separate. Looking at Ray's back, Sherry could not restrain his feelings or stopped him, and said that Ray can drive her a ride. Ray looked at Sherry, also agreed to her request. In the hospital, a special patient came to the doctor. He had been bitten on the arm, and the wound was now spreading. When the doctor took his temperature, he found that his temperature was well over 40 degrees, and even his tongue was covered with black spots. Seeing that the situation was wrong, the doctor quickly called his wife, the head nurse. The head nurse took the medical tools and went to the consulting room. At the same time, the abscess on the patient's arm expanded further. The doctor knew the arm would never be saved, so he asked the head nurse, who had just come in, to give him anesthetic and prepare him for excision. After 3 injections, the effect was immediate. The patient collapsed. At this time, Mary's car stalled in the middle of the road. Everywhere was full of green smoke, and from time to time came a low roar, so that she was very frightened, wanted to hurry to stop the car and leave, but was suddenly a dark shadow fell, dragged into the darkness. Sherry and Ray, who happened to be driving by, saw this scene. However, just in the middle of the speech, in order to avoid the dark figure in the middle of the road, he overturned the car. The two were arguing when an abscess hand reached into the car and pulled Sherry, who was hanging upside down from her seat. Ray unbuckled his seatbelt and rushed over with his shotgun. The shooting drove the 3 zombies away, but it was too late. They had already ripped off Sherry's right leg and carried it away. Ray rushed Sherry to the hospital. At this time received the message of the sheriff also came. He put Ray as a suspect arrested. The doctor seemed to be thinking strangely about his patient tonight, and began to feel more and more tense. Ray had a criminal record, so the sheriff suspected that he was responsible for Sherry's broken leg. But at this time Ray did not listen to, he looked at the patient inside the hospital more and more, the body with strange wound, vaguely feel that may be going out of the event. Countless bodies were brought to the hospital in strange circumstances, and when one was uncovered, the doctor chewed up the thermometer in his mouth. On the other side, Ray was taken to the police station by the sheriff. He began to interrogate Ray. The sheriff is interrupted by a phone call from the restaurant owner, who was the sheriff's brother. He told the sheriff that two figures had just arrived at his restaurant, but had remained motionless. The owner thought it was someone the sheriff had sent to threaten him, asking for his secret barbecue recipe. The sheriff listened to it confused. He did not send anyone to harass his brother today, just want to make clear there on the hang-up. In the hospital, the doctor called the head nurse's wife to identify the body. The head nurse looked at the back of the head was hollowed out. She was so sad that she covered her mouth and ran away crying. The doctor was puzzled as to how his wife knew this woman, so he ran over with Mary's phone and confronted his wife. It turns out that the head nurse is a lesbian. She once cheated on the doctor, and the object of the affair is Mary. The two were supposed to meet tonight, but Mary was killed on the way. Now the evidence is clear. The two exchanged text messages in front of the doctor has not allowed her to quibble. The doctor angrily grabbed the head nurse's anesthetic needle, gave her 2 needles in both hands, was about to put the last needle, was interrupted by the male nurse. After the doctor put the head nurse in the compartment, the nurse followed her to the ward, and found that the patients who had been lying on the bed had disappeared, and there was a lot of dragged blood on the floor. The corridors of the hospital were filled with beds, and the man who was supposed to be amputated had become so completely infected that he had killed the doctor who operated on him. He crushed the pustules on his face and rubbed them on the doctor's face in the presence of the frightened doctor. The head nurse in the cubicle broke the window and jumped down. He had to go back and find his son and take him away, or the doctors would kill him. She dislocated her hand in the jump, and with numb hands, she managed to start the car and get back to the house, chase off 2 nannies, and quickly drive her son, Harry, to his grandfather's door. Before getting out of the car, the head nurse told her son Harry to take the pistol out of the drawer and told him that if he saw anyone but his mother, he would shoot them. When he got out of the car, he saw that the boy had accidentally shot himself. Unfortunately, the doctor suddenly appeared from behind and grabbed the head nurse.
The head nurse was pulled off a lock of hair, but also from the doctor's hands free, opened the door to pick up the son and ran to the father's home. Looking at the face of blood daughter, there are piles of zombies behind. The old man quickly pulled her in.
The police station was also attacked by the zombies. A policeman was bitten off his finger. They were ready to go out to catch the prisoner, but they found the prisoner had smashed the car window and escaped. The officer's colleague found a ring and was about to hand it to him. Suddenly a zombie rushed over, bit off his colleague's arm, followed by more zombies also rushed over, began to tear and everyone together. The police shot and killed a few zombies. Ray also came over at this time, the skill of the shot to kill other zombies. Sheriff, helpless to sit on the car of Ray, quickly fled. The zombies surrounded, rushed to the hospital rescue. He also called a colleague who was feeding his demented wife to be careful. Who knows, the demented woman suddenly turned into a zombie and attacked him. By this time, the hospital was already in chaos. Zombies in constant hunting. Ray, holding 2 knives, rushed into the hospital alone, stopped on the road of the zombie, was killed by his knife. Not dragging water, Ray rushed all the way to Sherry's ward. Sherry was sad to see her empty legs, and sorrowful to think that her dreams of being a comedian had been shattered. He told Sherry to toughen up, then took off the table leg and put it on her right leg. Sherry followed Ray out of the hospital, dragging her new prosthetic leg. Followed Ray in the truck to the restaurant. After they entered the restaurant, confirmed that the restaurant owner did not matter, they began to rest in the restaurant, ready to flee the town together. Ray came to find Sherry. From the jacket she was wearing, he found the ring they were going to give Sherry the day they broke up. Ray put on the ring for Sherry, two people's misunderstanding is also solved, they began to kiss passionately. After the passion, the restaurant fire, and zombies are gathered around. The head nurse, her father, and the two young nannies were now in the dining room. Poor Sheriff got shot in the neck by one of his own while he was killing a zombie. Having lost his fighting power, he gave command and his pistol to Ray. At this moment, Ray, as if the god of war possessed the general, a burst of shooting began to attack the zombies. But more and more zombies, even fleeing the truck was surrounded by zombies, they can only return to the house. At this point, Sherry got out, took the keys and volunteered to drive the car, while Ray followed to cover for her. Ray shot perfectly and helped Sherry successfully drive the truck back. The men quickly get into their cars, grab their weapons and get ready to go. The motorcade hurtles down the road and flies. Several zombies finally reach the bridge across the river. On the other hand, Nick, a biochemical expert, is also running for his life. However, hiding in front of a large group of zombies blocked the way. In the critical moment, the back of the zombie came a burst of machine gun fire, blocked in the bridge of the zombie was instantly emptied. It was the captain of the opening film and his soldiers who took Sherry and all of them away and imprisoned together. Among them is Nick, who turns out to be a biochemical expert and businessman. He tells them that the virus they are infected with is called DC-2, which is also the bioweapon that the captain is going to buy. This bioweapon looks like green gas, which is both a source of infection and a cure. The captain and his men had been infected earlier, but were able to maintain their status by inhaling the right amount of green gas. Nick, as the inventor, wanted to sell some of it, but the captain wanted it all for himself. Now, all the DC-2 is on the basement floor, and everyone in this room has special antibodies in their bodies, so they're not infected. The elevator suddenly opened, and the captain's men, armed with guns, walked in, forced Sherry and the head nurse out, and Ray, who tried to stop it, was beaten up. After a while, just as the soldiers let their guard down, Ray and Nick worked together to take out the guard soldiers, the two of them all the way to the underground 11 floors, to find the captain who was about to take all the DC-2. At the moment, the captain cornered to two people confessed to the origin of his disease and his men. Earlier, their troops had killed Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, but he had bitterly regretted going there and had nearly killed everyone trying to get the job done. In order to keep the secret, the government actually dropped a large number of DC-2 in the combat area. If he and his soldiers want to survive, they must develop a real cure. Only by spreading the virus to more people can they force the government to make a cure. The whole point of their trip is to get more DC-2 and spread the word. The captain, speaking of running out of gas, began to swell. Ray and Nico had a problem, and they just shot him. On the other side, Sherry and the head nurse were harassed by guard soldiers, humiliated two people, quickly turned into Charlie's Angels. Sherry stuck her prosthetic leg in the eyes of the harassing soldier, and the head nurse, who had regained consciousness, used the opportunity to fire a numbing needle and kill one of the soldiers. Meanwhile, Ray and Nick rush in. Looking at Sherry's damaged prosthetic arm, Ray picked up a nearby machine gun with a grenade launcher and stuck it in. At this point, Sherry completed the evolution from dancer to comedian and then to the goddess of war. Back in the upper cell, weapons in hand, ready to rush out and grab the helicopter as it takes off. The two brothers, the sheriff and the restaurant owner, were left to blow up the base because they were dying of their wounds. Ray breaks down the door on his motorcycle, and Sherry, sitting in the back, starts shooting wildly with her machine gun. After dealing with the soldiers at the door, the crowd began to break out. Looking at the wall in front of him, Ray tried to lead the charge but was stopped by Nick. He was the first to touch the fence in order to preserve the antibodies on everyone. Looking at the only biochemical experts have fallen, the public can only think of ways. On the other side, the sheriff brothers, two people also finally bury the hatchet. The owner of the restaurant told my brother the recipe for the secret roast. Got the formula of the sheriff, also peace of mind died. Watching his dead brother, the restaurateur smiled wryly and pushed the trigger button. In the explosion, Sherry, transformed into the goddess of war, resolutely rushed out, a howitzer reflected over the wall. A circle of Thomas shot to kill the surrounding soldiers, a wonderful battle. Sherry is wearing glasses, is pondering his brilliant operation. Behind a zombie soldier stood up. Ray arrived in time to save Sherry, but he was bitten by a zombie. Ray, on the ground, laughs at Sherry's jokes, but Sherry knows there's nothing he can do about it, and she can only watch his lover die. Now she had to fulfill Ray's last wish, to live strong. A year later, under the leadership of Sherry, the people rebuilt their homes on the beach, far from the zombies and suitable for everyone. Her prosthetics have also been replaced with Gatling 3.0. Sherry will take the crowd, and her Ray-loved child brave to live on. This 2007 zombie film has a tight story and a lot of characters, most of which are well drawn and have strong personalities. In addition to lots of blood, there are tons of jokes, and every line is funny. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and follow. Josie will continue to work hard to show you more exciting content.